Hello. Today I'll tell you the story of how I found my wife's profile on an international escort service website. Category: Elite Services. I'm sitting in front of my laptop. The cursor is frozen. The screen glows in the darkness of the apartment, and I can't take my eyes off this mole on my shoulder. Small, brown, slightly convex. I kissed her 1,000 times in 10 years of marriage. And here she is, in this damn video. Top trending on an adult site. My hands are shaking. My mouth is dry. Lena is now somewhere in Thailand. She should be relaxing with her friends on the beach. And I look at the screen and realize that my life has just shattered into pieces. Friday lasted a long time. I spent the whole day sorting out another bug in the code, which Andre from the neighboring department managed to screw up 2 hours before the release. The bosses were breathing down our necks. The client was calling every half hour, and I, as usual, was sorting out other people's crap. At 7 in the evening, I finally crawled out of the office, stopped at the store on the way home, grabbed pizza and beer. I thought I would at least spend the evening calmly. The apartment was greeted with silence and darkness. Lena flew away 4 days ago. Another trip with friends to Thailand. Already the third this year, to be honest. Previously, this didn't particularly bother me. I work like hell. She wants to rest. And what's wrong with that? I make good money. We can afford it. And sometimes I'm glad to be alone, without her eternal conversations about shopping and beauty salons. I warmed up the pizza, opened the bottle, turned on some TV series in the background. I watched 2 episodes, but somehow it didn't connect. Work problems were spinning in my head. Tomorrow we had to deal with the bugs that appeared after today's release. The boss has already hinted that if we don't fix it by Monday, heads will roll. And guess who's first? I finished my beer and thought about getting another one, but decided that was enough. Lena called in the morning and sent me a couple of photos. From the beach, she is with her friends against the backdrop of the sea, all in swimsuits, tanned, happy. I wrote that I miss her. She replied with hearts. Normal correspondence, nothing special. The time difference is 4 hours. It was already night there. She said that she was going to bed. She felt some kind of melancholy. I got tired of the series, finished the pizza, and only expired kefir remained in the refrigerator. I looked through the news, then social networks. Just boredom. I decided to relax in a different way. Well, you know what I mean. I don't have a wife. I'm alone at home. I'm still a healthy man. I opened the usual site, so pornographic. International. I usually watch something neutral there. Without perversions. I went to the main page and looked at the trends. For example, amateur, some category with swimming pools. I scrolled down and stopped at one video. Preview with a girl on the bed, good quality, a lot of likes. I clicked just out of curiosity. The video loaded quickly and started playing. At first, nothing special, a standard shoot, a hotel room, a bed with white linen. And then the camera caught the girl's profile. My heart skipped a beat. No, it seemed. Rewinded, paused. I look at the screen and feel how cold it is inside. The hair is the same brown, long. The figure is very similar. No, it can't be. It's just a coincidence. The beer probably gave me glitches. Press play further. The girl turned to the camera. The face is clear, without blur. God. This is Lena. My wife. I recognized a mole on her shoulder, on the left shoulder blade. Small, brown, which I have seen a million times. The tattoo on my wrist is a small lotus flower that she got on my birthday 3 years ago. She said that this is a symbol of our love. She turned off the sound. Although there was almost no sound. I looked at the fragment again. Then more. My hands began to shake. It's definitely her. Absolutely. I know every curve of her body. Every mole point. 10 years together. Damn it. I can't go wrong. I checked the description of the video. Uploaded 3 days ago. The location of the shooting is not indicated. Some kind of left-wing account without a name. I looked at the view counter. More than 500,000. 500,000 people saw my wife like this. I began to shake, no longer from shock, but from anger. I grabbed the phone, found Lena in my contacts, and pressed call. Long beeps. He doesn't take it. Called again. Again missed. I looked at the time. It was now 1 o'clock in the morning. Maybe she was really sleeping. Or not. Or busy. Damn. I wrote to her on Messenger. Call me. Urgently. 2 ticks. But not read. I opened her profile on social networks. The last post was from yesterday evening. Photo of a cocktail against a sunset background. Geolocation. Pattaya. Standard tourist crap. Back to the video. I looked more carefully, already trying to find some details. The hotel room looked expensive. A large bed, modern furniture, a panoramic window. Outside the window, one could see the lights of a big city, clearly a rather large resort. Town. I noticed an ashtray on the nightstand and a slogan like a hotel, but I couldn't read it. It was too small. The girl was wearing underwear that I had never seen. Black, lace, expensive looking. She generally prefers plain cotton at home, saying it's more comfortable. And here it is. But I tried for someone special. I downloaded the video just in case and took a few screenshots. I don't know why. Automatically. My hands did it. But my brain just turned off. I sat and stared blankly at the screen, unable to believe what was happening. This is some kind of nightmare, dream, delirium. Now I'll wake up and everything will be fine. But no, I don't wake up. The time showed 11:30 at night. Lena never called back. Didn't read the message. I got up and walked around the apartment. I went into the bedroom and opened her closet. Things are neatly folded. The familiar smell of her perfume. Everything is as usual, as if nothing happened. I returned to my laptop, closed this damn website, and poured myself a glass of whiskey. Even though I haven't drunk strong for a long time, he drank it in one gulp. His throat burned. He sat down on the sofa and stared at the ceiling. My thoughts were racing. Maybe it's editing. Maybe someone is setting it up on purpose. But no, the video quality is too good. The face is clear. The mole is in place. The tattoo matches. This is her. I tried to remember the last months of our lives. Everything seemed fine. We quarreled sometimes, but I don't remember what about. I worked hard. She understood that. There was enough money for everything. An apartment, a car, vacations. She didn't complain, and neither did I. Sex was less frequent than before, but that's normal after 10 years of marriage, isn't it? Or not? When did she start going on these trips with her friends so often? Previously, we gathered somewhere together at most once a year, and here 3 times a year. February, Dubai, May, Thailand again. And now again. I didn't even think about it. I just thought that she needed a break from the routine. She doesn't work at home at all. I support her. She helps with housework half the day. I decided that I had the right to unwind. And these friends are Sveta and Ira. It seems that I caught a glimpse of them a couple of times when they visited us. Ordinary women. Nothing special. Oh, they even exist? Or is that also a lie? I called Lena again. Again he didn't answer. The clock showed 1 in the morning. I went to bed, but could not sleep. I closed my eyes and saw this screen. This video. Her face. When I opened it, I looked into the darkness and tried to figure out what to do next. By morning I still hadn't slept a wink. My head was pounding and my mouth was dried out. I got up, drank some water, and checked my phone. Lena read the message at 4 in the morning my time, 8 in the morning hers, but she didn't answer. Strange. At 9 in the morning the phone vibrated. Lena. I picked up the phone and tried to speak calmly, although everything was boiling inside. She apologized for not answering at night, said that she went to bed early and was tired after the excursion. The voice is ordinary, even cheerful. Asked how I was, what I was doing. I replied that it's fine. I work a lot. I tried to catch at least some falseness in my voice. But no. She sounded natural. I asked where they were now, what they were planning. She told me about some temple where they were going to go during the day, about a massage in the evening, about the market where she bought me a souvenir yesterday. The usual tourist chatter. I listened and felt a lump of anger growing inside me. I couldn't stand it. I asked directly, are they really in Pattaya? What hotel do they live in? She called some kind of beach resort. She said that the room with a sea view was very beautiful. I asked him to send me a photo from the room. She was surprised and asked why such suddenness that I lied that I just wanted to see where she was staying. Maybe I'd go there myself someday. She promised to send it later and said that they were in a hurry for breakfast. We said goodbye. I hung up and realized that my hands were shaking again. She's lying. Absolutely calmly, naturally lying to my face, and not the first time, apparently. I returned to the laptop, opened the video again, took a screenshot of the moment where the window of the room is visible, zoomed in on the image. Outside the window there are high-rise buildings, clearly a large city. Not Pattaya, that's for sure. There is no such horizon there. I launched a reverse image search through several services. Half an hour later, a similar photo was found on one website. Views from a window in Bangkok. Expensive 5-star hotel. I compared it according to the standards and it matches almost perfectly. So that means the video was filmed in Bangkok, not Pattaya. Enlarge the shot of the ashtray on the nightstand. The logo has become a little clearer, gold letters on a black background. Similar to the name with Latin letters. I searched the list of expensive hotels in Bangkok and found a dozen suitable ones. I started checking each one. I looked at photos of the rooms on their websites, compared the furniture, the location of the windows. On the 4th or 5th I hit the mark. Grand Palace Suite, that luxury hotel in the center of Bangkok. Rooms from 20,000 baht per night. This is about 40,000 rubles. In the photos, the rooms match the video almost completely. The same furniture, the same curtains, the same layout. I dialed the hotel number. Fortunately, it was listed on the website. The girl at the reception answered in English. I introduced myself as Lena Maximova's husband. He said that I was trying to contact her. She did not answer the phone. Could they connect me to the number? The girl apologized and said that a guest with that name did not live with them. I clarified. Maybe she checked out a couple of days ago. We checked the database. No, for a week there was no Lena Maximova. Hung up. This means that she either lived under a false name or in the wrong place at all. But the video was definitely filmed in this hotel. I'm almost sure. Question: who brought her there and at whose expense? Lena never posted a photo from the room. 3 hours passed. I wrote a reminder. She replied that she forgot, apologized, and sent a photo. A standard tourist room, bed, TV, through the window, the beach. Absolutely different from the number in the video. I even did a reverse search. The photo is real, not from the internet. This means they really live somewhere, but not where the video was filmed. My head was spinning. I tried to collect the facts in my head. Lena left 4 days ago, supposedly to Pattaya with her friends. 3 days ago, a video appeared, filmed in an expensive hotel in Bangkok. Today she claims to be in Pattaya, in some beach hotel. But in the expensive hotel, she was not there under her own name. There are several options. First, she is really with her friends in Pattaya, but a couple of days ago, she went to Bangkok for some reason, and what happened in the video happened there. Second, she is in Bangkok all the time and asks her friend to send photos from Pattaya or takes them from the archives. The third one is all lies. She doesn't have any friends, and she's doing who knows what. We had to dig deeper. I went into our online bank, looked at the movement on the cards, my salary, and our common family card, where I put it towards expenses. Lena also has her own card, but it is linked to the family account. I see everything. Recent transactions. 3 days ago, cash withdrawal from an ATM, 30,000 baht. This is about 60,000 rubles. The ATM was located in Bangkok in the Sukhumvit area, judging by the code. Not in Pattaya, mind you. Then another withdrawal yesterday, 20,000 baht, also Bangkok, and the purchase at some pharmacy the day before yesterday. In the same place. So she's definitely in Bangkok and not Pattaya, and withdraws large sums of cash. For what? What does it spend on? If you live in a cheap hotel with friends, then you don't need that kind of money for anything. You usually pay by card. Let us look further at the statements. Over the past 3 months, I have discovered several more strange transactions. Transfers to some fraudulent cards, small amounts of 5 to 10,000 rubles. Recipients are unknown, not familiar. That I would ask Lena, but she will definitely come up with something. That on Saturday afternoon the boss called. Igor Sergeyevich, the head of our department, is always a nervous type. He asked why I wasn't at work when we had an emergency situation with a client. I explained that it was still the weekend, but I was ready to connect remotely if necessary. That he grumbled that Andre seemed to be correcting it, but that I should be in touch. Andre, this bastard is constantly trying to trick me. I noticed this a long time ago. At meetings he appropriates my ideas. When in charge he says that he did everything. I usually didn't. Worry. Work is work. The result is important. But now there was no time for him. I tried to focus on the situation with Lena. I decided to act methodically. I wrote down everything I know. Video, geolocation discrepancy, strange transactions. What I lack is an understanding of scale. Is this a one-time betrayal or a system? Is she on her own or is someone organizing it? I remembered that I have a friend, Oleg, who used to work in the police and then went into private investigation. He and I studied together at the institute. Sometimes we cross paths. We meet for beer a couple of times a year. I wrote to him in a personal message and asked if it was possible to meet today. There is a delicate question. Oleg responded an hour later and suggested meeting in the evening in a cafe near the center. I agreed. There were a few hours left until evening. I decided to check everything again and prepare for the conversation. I downloaded the video to a flash drive, printed out card statements with strange transactions highlighted, and took screenshots of correspondence with Lena, where she said she was in Pattaya. I collected everything in a folder. I felt paranoid, but it's better to be safe. In the evening, I arrived at the cafe first and ordered coffee. Oleg appeared 10 minutes later, the same stocky man, with short hair, in a leather jacket. We said hello. He immediately noticed that I looked like shit. I told him everything as it is. Without embellishment, he showed me the video, and he watched it silently, without emotion, professionally. Then extracts, screenshots. Oleg listened attentively, sometimes asking clarifying questions. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and sighed heavily. He said that the situation was bad, but, unfortunately, not unique. He had enough of such things to do. He offered to help. He could check in more detail, look for information for a reasonable fee. I agreed right away. Money is not the main thing now. He asked for a couple of days for preliminary verification. We discussed the details. He will take Lena's photo, check it using available databases, try to find traces on the internet, see what is going on with these friends. I sent him everything I had collected, plus photos of Lena from social networks. I returned home late in the evening. The apartment is still empty and quiet. Lena wrote before going to bed and posted a selfie from the beach. Tanned, wearing sunglasses, smiling. She signed that she misses her. There are only 3 days left. I replied that I miss him too. Although inside me there was nothing left of these feelings. I went to bed, but again I couldn't sleep. Thoughts were spinning in my head. What if I'm wrong? What if it's not her? But no. A mole, a tattoo, a face, everything matches. So I'm not mistaken. This means that my wife betrayed me, and perhaps more than once. By morning I decided that I would act coldly and calculatingly. I want to make a scene. I want to yell or throw things. I'll collect all the evidence, understand the scale, and then decide what to do next. Divorce, scandal, revenge, all this later. Now the main thing is information. I took a day off on Monday morning. I told my boss that I had a cold, fever, headache. Igor Sergeyevich muttered something about irresponsibility with displeasure, but let him go. If only he knew that my head was really hurting, not just from a cold. Oleg called at lunchtime. His voice was serious and he asked to meet. I arrived at his office, a small room on the 3rd floor of the business center. The sign is modest. Inside there are 2 tables and a safe. He closed the door and offered coffee. I refused. There was no time for coffee. Oleg took out a folder and placed it on the table in front of me. He said the news was bad. Very bad that I opened the folder. There were printouts of some websites, photographs, screenshots of correspondence. He began to explain in a calm, professional tone, and everything inside me was turning over. I found Lena's profile on an international escort services website. Under some stupid pseudonym, Alice. Category Elite Services, price from $500 per meeting. Photographs are professional. The face is partially hidden, but the body is recognizable. The same mole, the same tattoo. Dozens of reviews from clients in English and Russian. They praise, give high marks, write that they met in different cities. Oleg showed screenshots. The earliest reviews dated back almost 2 years. 2 years. Damn it. All this time she led a double life, and I did not suspect anything. There were meetings in Bangkok, Dubai, Pattaya, even in Moscow a couple of times. The geography is wide. The detective found photographs from various meetings. Lena in restaurants, hotels, on yachts. Always with different men, always looking happy and relaxed. In one photo, she is in an evening dress hugging some Arab guy in a suit against the backdrop of Dubai skyscrapers. On the other, he is sitting by the pool of a luxury villa next to a European man of about 50. Oleg also found out about his girlfriends. Sveta and Ira are real people, but they are not Lena's friends in the usual sense. These are the same call girls. They work through the same office. They do sometimes travel together, but not on vacation, but on orders, group meetings. There are corporate events for wealthy clients. And I sat and looked at these papers, unable to utter a word. Oleg poured me water and waited for me to come to my senses. I asked what I would do next, and I replied that I don't know yet. I need time to digest the information. That he advised not to rush into confrontation. He said that if I plan to get a divorce, it is better to first protect myself legally and financially. Lena returns from her trip in 2 days, and I have to decide, continue to play the fool or tell everything right away. I arrived home, lay down on the sofa, and stared at the ceiling. 2 years. She's been doing this for 2 years. He travels around the world, sleeps with strange men for money, and then comes to my house, kisses me, cooks dinner, and lies down in our bed. How does she even do this? How does one manage to separate these two lives? I remembered all her trips over the past year. February, Dubai. She said she was going shopping with her friends. May, first trip to Thailand, supposedly a beach holiday. July, Moscow for a week. She said that a friend is having a wedding. Now it's Thailand again. And this is just what I remember. How many small weekend trips there were, friends' business trips, where she supposedly kept company. I dug deeper into our bank statements. Over the past 6 months, I have found transfers of 10 to 15,000 to the card of some Marina Vetrova every month. I googled the name. Nothing special, an ordinary woman. Then I realized, this is most likely the same manager or pimp who organizes the meetings. Percentage of earnings. And there were also transfers to cards with male names, but rarely. Perhaps she was covering some debts or helping that same brother about whom I know almost nothing. Lena said that she has a younger brother, Dennis, who lives in another city, and they don't communicate much. I haven't seen him once in 10 years. Problems started at work. On Tuesday, Igor Sergeyevich called me on the carpet and asked where the report on the project was, which was supposed to be ready on Friday. I completely forgot about this report. To be honest, he said that I would do it this evening, that he frowned with displeasure and reminded me that the client was waiting, and I was missing the deadline. I sat down at the computer and tried to concentrate on work. It didn't work out. Every 5 minutes my thoughts went to Lena, to the video, to the profile on the website. At lunchtime, Andre came into my office and asked how I was doing. I muttered that it was normal and asked not to be distracted. He grinned, said something about burnout at work, and left. Later I found out that Andre went to his superiors and offered his help with my project. Like he sees that I can't cope, he's ready to connect. Igor Sergeyevich approved. And now Andre is getting into my code, into my work. The bitch is lurking, taking advantage of my condition. By evening I made a report somehow and sent it. The boss read it and wrote that he was dissatisfied with the quality, but it would do for now. He warned that if this went on, we would have to talk seriously. I replied that everything was under control, just temporary difficulties. Lena sent a message in the evening. A photo of dinner in some restaurant. She is with her friends at the table, seafood. Everyone is smiling, tanned, happy. She wrote that she was flying home tomorrow. She was bored and couldn't wait to see you. I replied that I was also waiting, although in fact I wanted her not to come back at all. Oleg called late in the evening and asked how I was. He said that he had found something else interesting. Lena transferred money to a Dubai bank account opened in her name. The amount is decent. About 1 million rubles have accumulated in a year. This means that she hides her earnings and prepares herself a financial cushion in case something happens. I thanked Oleg and asked him to continue digging. He agreed and said that he would try to find out more about these clients. Maybe there would be regular ones. We said goodbye. I sat in the darkness of the apartment and realized that my life would never be the same. Wednesday, day of Lena's return. The flight arrived in the evening at 9. I finished work early, went to the supermarket, bought groceries and wine. I decided that I would play the role of a loving husband who misses him and is waiting for his wife. It takes time to understand the full picture and collect all the evidence. I cleaned the apartment, although it was already clean, changed into home clothes, and turned on the TV for background. Lena wrote that we landed. She was going home. She would be there in an hour. My heart was beating like before an exam. I rehearsed in my head how I would behave, what to say, how to look into my eyes, knowing everything I know. She appeared at the beginning of 10, tanned, in a light dress, with a huge suitcase. She went into the apartment, threw her bag, and hugged me. She smelled of the sea and some unfamiliar perfume. I hugged back and felt myself tense. She is a stranger, a completely strange woman in my hands. Lena didn't notice or didn't show it. She chattered about the trip. What a beauty, what an impression, what a great time we had. I got a bunch of gifts, a t-shirt with Thai inscriptions for me, a figurine of an elephant for my mother, a bunch of cosmetics and jewelry for myself. Everything is as usual. We had dinner. She talked about excursions, temples, beaches. I listened with half an ear, nodded, and asked routine questions. I asked about my friends, how they were, if everything was okay. Lena said that it was great. Sveta met some local guy. Now they are corresponding, and Ira was just sunbathing and relaxing. After dinner, she went to the shower. I waited until the water started to sound and quickly took her phone from the table. I knew the password. I opened messengers and started scrolling. The correspondence is usually ordinary at first glance, with friends, mother, and some acquaintances. But then I noticed one with no name, just a phone number. Opened it. Messages in English, in a business-like tone. Someone sent Lena a schedule, hotel addresses, amounts. She confirmed receipt and clarified the details. Last message from yesterday. Thanks for the work and transfer of money to the account. I scrolled further and found another hidden correspondence. Some man wrote to Lena in Russian, tenderly and intimately, that he called her beloved, said that he missed her, asked when they would see each other again. Lena answered evasively and promised to come next month. The man signed himself your K. I heard the water in the shower turn off. He quickly closed everything, put the phone back, and sat down on the sofa. Lena came out in a dressing gown. Her hair was wet, happy. She settled down next to her and snuggled. I hugged her, trying not to show disgust. The next day, Oleg sent a new piece of information. I checked that same K. From correspondence. It turned out that this was Carl Schmidt, a German businessman. He often travels to Russia and Thailand on business. I met Lena 6 months ago at a meeting. Since then, they have seen each other regularly. He pays her more than other clients and seems to be seriously in love. The detective found photographs of Carl and Lena together. They met in a restaurant in Bangkok, at some party in Dubai, and even met in Moscow. In one photo, Carl kisses Lena on the cheek. She smiles. They look like a couple, Not like a client and a prostitute that I looked at these photos and felt anger growing inside. This means she doesn't just have clients. She has an affair with one of them. Is she in love with this German, or is she just using him for money? How does she feel about me? Does she feel anything at all? Lena announced the news on Friday that we were sitting at breakfast. She was drinking coffee. I was watching the news on my phone. She suddenly put her hand on mine and looked seriously. She said that she wanted to talk about something important. That I put the phone down and prepared for the worst. Lena said that she was thinking about the child, that we are already over 30. It's time to have children, otherwise it will be too late. She is ready, wants to become a mother, create a full-fledged family. She looked at me with hope, waiting for a reaction. I froze. Child. She wants a child, but at the same time she engages in prostitution, sleeps with dozens of men, and meets with a German lover. What the hell anyway? This is some kind of absurdity, theater. Does she seriously think that I want to find out? Or does she not care? I pulled myself together and said that the idea was interesting, but I needed to think about it. Work is stressful now. Finances are also not the most stable, maybe a little. Later, Lena got upset and said that I always put off serious decisions like that. But she didn't insist. She nodded that she would wait. After breakfast, she went to the beauty salon. I stayed at home. I called Oleg and told him about the conversation about the child. He replied that the woman was either completely crazy or really wanted to quit and return to normal life. But in any case, I need to act faster. The detective sent the final information. Lena transferred money not only to her account in Dubai, but also to the card of some Denis Sokolov. They checked. It was really her brother, the youngest, 28 years old, lives in Kazan, works in an unknown location, apparently has problems with money. Lena helped him regularly, 30 to 50,000 every month. So, the story about the brother is not entirely a lie. Maybe she really started doing this because of his debts, and then I got involved, saw easy money and couldn't stop. Or is this all an excuse? But in fact, she just likes this life. I realized that it was time to act. You need a lawyer. You need to deal with divorce and division of property. The apartment was purchased before marriage, registered in my name. But according to the law, she can still claim a share if she proves that she invested in renovations or a mortgage. But the car was bought as a marriage, which means it is divided in half. Savings and accounts are also divided. I made an appointment with a lawyer for a consultation. With a lawyer I know, Victor, that we met on Monday. I told the situation in general terms, without going into details about the escort. I just said that my wife is cheating, I want a divorce, I'm interested in the division of property. Victor explained that according to the law, everything acquired in a marriage is divided in half if there is no prenuptial agreement. But we didn't have one. I somehow didn't think we would need it. You can protect the apartment if you prove that you bought it before marriage with your own money, but you need documents. The car will have to be divided or its share bought out. I asked about alimony. It turned out that if there are no children, then the wife cannot demand maintenance after a divorce, unless it proves that I am to blame for the breakdown of the marriage and she was left without a livelihood. Considering that she has a hidden account in Dubai and income from escorting, it is unlikely that she will be able to prove this. Victor advised to quietly re-register valuable property, open a separate account, transfer money there, and collect evidence of treason. This will help in court if the case comes to trial. I thanked him and agreed that he would start preparing the divorce papers. On Wednesday evening, when Lena fell asleep, I took her phone and went to the bathroom. He turned on the water to make noise, sat on the edge of the bathtub and began to dig deeper. That I had already checked regular messengers, but I felt that there was something else hidden there. I went into the settings and looked at the list of installed applications. Most are familiar: social networks, banks, taxis, food delivery. But one thing caught my eye. The icon is nondescript. The name is some kind of technical, like a system utility. Opened, the application requested an additional password. I tried several options. Lena's date of birth, our anniversary, The name of her children's dog. Nothing worked. Thought about it. What password would she use for something secret? And then it dawned on me that I tried the date of birth of her brother Dennis. The application opened. Inside there was a personal account on some closed website. Lena's profile under the same pseudonym, Alice. Meeting statistics, travel. Schedule for several months in advance, income by month. I flipped through the numbers and was stunned. Over the past year, she earned more than 4 million rubles. 0.4 million. Damn it. The average check for a meeting is 200 to 300,000. Sometimes more. On average, there were 2 to 3 times a month, plus long trips, where she spent several days with one client. The schedule is written down to the smallest detail. Dates, cities, amounts. Even the wishes of clients are written down. I saw an upcoming trip in December. Dubai, 5th day, regular client, payment. 350,000. This is the same Carl, the German. The comment says that he asked that Lena be free for these dates. Wants to spend New Year's holidays together. Romance. Damn it. And I also found a section with correspondence with the manager. The same Marina. She sent proposals from clients. Lena chose the right ones. Sometimes she refused if the conditions did not suit her or the client seemed strange. The correspondence is businesslike, dry, like in a regular office. Marina took 30 of each meeting for organization, security, and advertising. The rest is up to Lena. And there was also spending on appearance, salons, cosmetologists, fitness, clothes. Everything paid off easily, judging by the numbers. Lena lived on 2 fronts. Here with me with my money. There she earned her own and saved. I took screenshots of everything I could and sent them to my email. I deleted traces of my presence on the phone and returned everything as it was. Lena was sleeping peacefully and didn't even move when I returned. To the bedroom. He lay down next to him and looked at the ceiling. More than I earn. And she continues to live with me and pretend to be a loving wife, making plans for children. In the morning I got up early and called Victor. He said that he had found evidence of his wife's income. Large sums that she was hiding. He said it was great. During a divorce, if she tries to demand alimony or a larger share, it will be possible to show that she has her own means. I asked to send screenshots. I sent them. Victor advised to act quickly. Re-register the apartment in your mother's name. A deed of gift. They say, you want your mother to live comfortably in her old age. This is legal, although it looks suspicious during a divorce. But the court will not be able to challenge it if everything is done correctly. You can also sell the car and buy a new one for your mother. Or even to the company. If you have your own. I called my mother and explained the situation. First she didn't believe it. Then she got upset and asked if maybe I was wrong. I had to tell you more, show evidence. Mom agreed to help with re-registration of the apartment, although reluctantly. She does not like legal fuss. On Friday we went to the notary and drew up a deed of gift. The apartment now belongs to my mother. I supposedly live with her in her apartment. In fact, nothing has changed, but legally Lena will no longer be able to claim it. The documents were submitted for registration, and they said it would be ready in a week. I decided to do something simpler with the car. I sold it to a friend for a symbolic amount with a buyback agreement. He understood the situation and agreed to help. After the divorce, I'll buy it back. He transferred the money from the sale to a new account opened in his name in another bank. Lena didn't know about this account. All her savings, about 1.5 million, went there. Meanwhile, things got tough at work. Igor Sergeyevich called me on Monday and said that he was dissatisfied with the work over the past months. The project with the client is hanging, the deadlines are missed, the quality is poor. I tried to explain that there were circumstances, but he didn't listen. It turned out that Andre wrote a report on me. He wrote that I was not coping with my responsibilities, sabotaging the project, and ignoring the comments of my colleagues. I have attached screenshots of correspondence where I allegedly rudely answered work questions and missed deadlines. Half of it was taken out of context, but the bosses didn't care. Igor Sergeyevich confronted me with the fact. Either I close the project by the end of the week with the required quality, or there will be conclusions. When I asked what the conclusions were, he hinted that they could fire me for failure to fulfill my duties, that I left the office angry as a dog. Andre stood in the corridor and showered me with sympathy. He asked if he needed help. He was ready to take on some of the tasks himself, that I sent him away, and said that I would sort it out myself. He shrugged and walked away, a satisfied grin on his face. The bitch was glad that he set him up. He worked like hell all week, that he came to work at 8 in the morning and left at 10 in the evening to at home. Lena asked why it was so late. I answered that I was working on the project. She nodded sympathetically, prepared dinner, and massaged her shoulders. She played the role of a caring wife, and she was planning her next trip to a client. Oleg called on Wednesday and said that he had found more information about Carl. German, married, 2 children, lives in Munich. He owns a small manufacturing company and often travels to Asia on business. I met Lena through that same escort website and fell in love from the first meeting. That he corresponds with her every day, gives gifts, wants to give up everything and move in with her. Lena answers evasively. Doesn't he make promises, but doesn't he refuse either? Keeps him on the hook, receives money and gifts. Carl has already suggested that she rent an apartment in Moscow so that they can meet more often when he is in Russia. Lena said she would think about it. I listened to this and realized that my wife did not value me at all, that I am an alternate airfield for her. Stability and cover. Carl, romance and money. Clients, easy money. But no one has real feelings, only calculation. On Friday evening, Lena announced the good news. Her friends are organizing a trip again, this time to Dubai at the end of the month. She wants to go. She has long dreamed of going there. She asked permission, as if I could prohibit it. I shrugged my shoulders and said that if he wants, let him go. She was delighted, hugged me, and said that I was the best husband in the world. Everything was boiling inside me, but I kept my face. That I knew that no Dubai with friends is a meeting with Carl for 5 days for $350,000, and she goes there with my tacit consent, thinking that I am a fool and don't know anything. On Monday, what I was afraid of happened. Igor Sergeyevich gathered everyone for a planning meeting and announced that the project that I introduced was being transferred to Andre. I didn't meet the deadline. The client was unhappy. Management decided to change the person in charge. I am given a new task, routine support of the old system. Work for juniors. It was a punch in the gut. I ran the business for 3 years, managed key projects, and then they brought me down to the level of an ordinary employee. Andre sat opposite, watching with barely concealed triumph. He achieved his goal. He hooked me up, took away my project, and now it will continue to grow. After the planning meeting, I went to my boss and tried to explain what was happening, that I was going through a difficult period in my personal life, but I could handle it. Give me a chance. Igor Sergeyevich coldly replied that personal problems should not affect work, and if they do, it means I'm not a professional. He said that the decision was final. He left the office, sat down at the table, and stared at the monitor. Life was collapsing from all sides at the same time. My wife was a prostitute, my work was going into the abyss, and in the middle I was trying to hold on to at least something. But it doesn't work. Everything is falling apart like a house of cards. I came home late in the evening, angry and exhausted. Lena met me with dinner and asked how things were. I muttered that it was normal and sat down at the table in silence. She felt that something was wrong, but did not bother asking questions. We ate in silence. She turned on some TV series. I looked at the screen, unable to see. The next day, Lena suddenly started talking about the child again. She said that she was seriously thinking about it. Maybe it's time to take steps in this direction. I looked at her and couldn't help myself. I asked directly, "Are you sure this is a good idea? Maybe they want to give it to you now?" She was surprised and asked what I meant. I replied that she travels a lot and is often away. "Maybe we should settle down first." Lena frowned and said that it was just a vacation with friends, a couple of times a year, and would not interfere with motherhood. That on the contrary, now he have some fun, and then he devote himself entirely to his family. I was shocked by this hypocrisy. She seriously thinks that I will fall for this nonsense, that I will believe in her sudden desire to become a mother while continuing to sleep with clients for money. This is absurdity, theater, mockery. But I said nothing. He simply nodded and said again that I'll think about it. Lena happily went into the shower, and I remained sitting on the couch and planning the next steps. That I couldn't stand this lie anymore. It's time to finish. Oleg sent the final report on Wednesday. I checked all of Lena's financial flows over the past 2 years. In addition to the account in Dubai, where there was 1 million rubles, there were also deposits in Russian banks in her name, about 500,000, plus translations for brother Dennis. In 2 years, she transferred him more than 800,000. The detective also found Dennis himself. I contacted him under the guise of a colleague and got to talking. It turned out that the guy really got into debt. I played in an online casino, lost, then took out loans to win back. Lena helped pay off the debts, but he continued to play. She was angry, but she couldn't leave her brother. So the story about my brother is true. Lena started escorting to help her brother, but then, apparently, she got involved. I saw easy money, a beautiful life, gifts, travel, and couldn't stop or she didn't want to. Oleg also confirmed the information about Carl. The German is seriously in love and plans to divorce his wife for Lena's sake. I have already consulted with lawyers and discussed the division of property. He plans to propose to Lena during a December meeting in Dubai. He wants to take her to Germany, provide for her, give her a normal life. Lena knows about his plans, but does not make a decision. On the one hand, there is a rich lover who is ready for anything. On the other hand, a stable life with me without risks and shocks. She is choosing between 2 men, or maybe she actually wants both at the same time. I called Victor and said that I was ready to act. Divorce documents have been prepared. He replied that everything is ready. You can serve it at any time. The property is protected. The evidence has been collected. All that remains is to serve Lena with the claim and start the process. I asked when is the best time to do this. Victor advised me to choose a moment when I would be calm and ready for any reaction. Lena can be hysterical, threaten, beg. You need to control yourself and not succumb to manipulation. I said I was ready and made an appointment for Friday. He will give the final instructions. On Thursday evening, Lena was sitting at her laptop, making some reservations for a trip to Dubai. I watched her from the side. She was enthusiastic, chose a hotel, read reviews, added excursions to her bookmarks. She behaved like an ordinary tourist preparing for vacation. Only this is not a vacation. A work trip to see a lover. He came up, looked over his shoulder, and asked what he was choosing. Lena shuddered, quickly closed the tab, and said that she was looking at hotel options for a trip with her friends. She showed me some average 3-star hotel on the outskirts. I nodded and praised the choice, although I already knew from Oleg's report that she had actually booked a room in a 5-star hotel in the center of Dubai, a suite with a view of the Burj Khalifa for 5 nights. Carl paid in advance, plus sent money for shopping. Lena planned to spend these days with him, and then return to me with souvenirs and stories about her friends. I went to bed, but again I couldn't sleep. I lay there and thought, how does she even do this? How does one manage to live in 2 realities at the same time without going crazy? He kisses me in the morning, wishes me a good day, prepares dinner in the evening, sleeps with a client at night. And in a week she will fly to her lover, sleep with him, flirt with him, and make plans. Then she will return here and again play the faithful wife. Maybe she really is sick, split personality, mental disorder, or just a cynical bitch who doesn't care about anyone but herself? Don't know. And I don't want to know anymore. I just want to end this and move on with my life. On Friday, I met with Victor in his office. He laid out all the documents in front of me. A statement of claim for divorce, an inventory of property, evidence of infidelity, explained how the process would go that we file a lawsuit. Lena receives a notice, and a court hearing is scheduled. If she doesn't object, the divorce will be finalized in a month. That if he argues, it will drag on. That he asked what to do if she tried to blackmail her and ruin her reputation. Victor said that we have trump cards, evidence of her activities, hidden income, correspondence with clients. If she tries to make me look bad, we will present it all. Plus, you can threaten to file a tax application. She didn't pay taxes on her escort income, a serious violation. I nodded, realizing that the war would be tough, but there is nowhere to retreat. That I signed all the papers. Victor said that he would submit documents to the court on Monday. In a couple of days, Lena will receive a notification, and I must be prepared for her reaction. I returned home in the evening. Lena was in high spirits. She showed me the purchased tickets to Dubai, departure in 10 days. She talked about their plans, where they wanted to go with their friends, what to see. That I listened and thought that these were our last days together. In a week she will find out the truth, and everything will be over. Over the weekend, I methodically prepared for the crucial conversation. That I collected all the evidence in one folder. Printouts of Lena's profile from the escort website, screenshots of correspondence with the manager and Carl, bank statements with strange transactions, photographs from the detective's report. I laid everything out in order so that she couldn't get away with it or lie. Victor handed me a completed statement of claim for divorce, a document of 20 pages, listing the reasons, inventory of property, requirements. The grounds for divorce were stated as irreconcilable differences and loss of trust. He didn't write directly about the escort, but he hinted at treason and concealment of income. Mom called on Saturday and asked how I was. He said that everything would be decided soon. All that was left was to put an end to it. She sighed and said that she supported me in any decision. That I was only worried that Lena might try to sue for the apartment. But I reassured her. The deed of gift had already been drawn up. The apartment was now in her name. No one would take it away. I also did everything with the money. I transferred all the savings to a new account in another bank, closed our common card, which we both used. That I agreed to transfer my salary to a new account starting next month. Lena only had access to her old account, which contained $50,000. He left it on purpose so that she wouldn't suspect at first. I formally sold the car to my friend Seryoga. He registered it in his name, but we both use it by agreement. After the divorce, I will buy it back for the same amount. Lena didn't know about this scheme. She thought that she just sold it to buy a new one. That she didn't even ask why. Apparently, they didn't care. On Sunday evening, Lena was packing for a trip to Dubai. She packed dresses, swimsuits, and cosmetics into her suitcase, hummed something funny, and twirled in front of the mirror, trying on outfits. She asked my opinion. Which dress looks better? Which shoes to take? That I answered in monosyllables. She did not notice my indifference. She asked if she could take my credit card just in case she might need money. That I refused and said that she has her own card. That's enough. Lena was surprised. Before, I always gave without asking questions. She shrugged her shoulders and did not insist. That I knew that she had plenty of her own money in her accounts. She just wanted to maintain the appearance that she depended on me. In the evening, we sat on the sofa, watching a movie. Lena pressed herself close to me and put her head on my shoulder. It's so cozy and familiar, as if we were an ordinary happy couple, but I only felt cold inside. This woman next to me is a stranger whom I don't know. 10 years together, and I had no idea who she really was. I decided to act on Monday evening. When Lena returned from some meeting with her friends, that I had a day off. I agreed with my boss that I would work Saturday instead of Monday. That I needed a day to mentally prepare and check everything one last time. On Monday morning, Lena went about her business and said that she would be back by 7 in the evening. I stayed at home, laid out all the documents on the table, and reviewed everything again. I called Oleg, and he confirmed that all the information was up to date and nothing had changed. That he wished him luck and said that he would be in touch if anything happened. Victor sent a message. Divorce papers were filed in court in the morning. Within a week, Lena will receive an official notification by mail. But I decided not to wait. I'll tell her myself today. Let him know from me. And not from a letter. I went to the gym during the day and worked on the punching bag that I needed to release the tension and calm down. I hit the bag and imagined Andre's face. Then Lena S. Then everyone who betrayed me. It helped a little. I returned home tired but focused. I was ready by 7 in the evening. I was sitting on the sofa with a folder with documents lying on the table in front of me. The phone is on silent so that no one is distracted. I was waiting for the door to open and what I had been planning for 2 weeks would begin. Lena arrived at 7:30, cheerful and happy. She said that we had a great time in the cafe, discussed plans for Dubai, dropped my bag, and went to the kitchen for water. I sat silently, watching her move around the apartment, completely unaware that her world was about to collapse. She returned to the living room with a bottle of water and saw me and the documents on the table. She stopped and asked, "What happened? Why so serious?" I motioned for her to sit opposite me. Lena frowned, but sat down in a chair and looked warily. He began calmly, without emotion, said we needed to talk about our marriage. She tensed up even more and asked what I meant. I opened the folder and took out the first document, a printout of her profile from the escort website. He placed it on the table in front of her. Lena looked at the paper. Her face turned pale. She grabbed the sheet and began to read. Her hands were shaking. She looked at me and tried to say something, but I stopped her with a gesture. I took out the following document: screenshots of correspondence with manager Marina, then photos from different meetings, then account statements. I posted them one after another, silently. Lena sat and looked at the growing pile of evidence. The face became paler, the hands trembled. She tried to object, starting phrases. "It's not what you think. I can explain. Where did you get this?" I didn't let anyone talk. I continued to lay out the evidence. When all the documents were on the table, I leaned back on the sofa and said simply, "I know everything. For 2 years you have been an escort, traveling all over the world, sleeping with men for money. I know about Carl, about Marina, the account in Dubai, about brother Dennis. Oh, what do you think about this situation?" Lena sat silently for several seconds, then suddenly jumped up. She began to deny. "This is not true. Some kind of mistake. Someone is setting me up." The voice trembled. The words were confused. I looked at her coldly, waiting for her to lose steam. She tried to grab the documents and tear them. I grabbed her hand and calmly said that these are copies. The originals are in a safe place. Plus, everything is in digital form. My lawyer and I have it. He can tear it up as much as he wants. Nothing will change. Lena pulled her hand back and took a step back. The face was distorted. Tears rolled from the eyes. She spoke quickly, haltingly. "It's all because of Dennis. He got into debt. Collectors threatened. I didn't know what to do. I needed money quickly. A lot of money. This was the only way out." I listened and shook my head. T asked, "Why didn't you come to me? Why didn't you tell me about your brother's problems? We could decide together, find a way out. But you chose to sell yourself, lie to me for 2 years, live a double life?" Lena cried louder, said that she was afraid, ashamed, and did not want to upset me. That at first she planned only a couple of times to close her debts and tie it up, but then her brother lost again. She needed money again, and she continued. And then I got involved and got used to this kind of life. I took out another document. Correspondence with Carl. I read aloud several Tinder messages where the German declared his love for her, promised to take her to Germany and provide for her. He asked, "Is this also because of Dennis's debts? Did you fall in love with a client because of your brother's debts?" Lena fell silent and wiped away her tears. She said quietly, "It happened by accident with Carl. He turned out to be a good person, attentive, not at all like other clients. We became friends. Then feelings appeared. But I wasn't going to leave with him. It's just a fantasy, unreal." He asked, "What about me? Your husband, with whom you lived for 10 years, Who am I to you? Alternate airfield. A cover for your double life. Lena shook her head, said that she loved me. She always had. Everything just happened so strangely. She was confused. Didn't he know how to stop? I laughed evilly, briefly. She loves me, while traveling around the world for 2 years, sleeping with dozens of men, hiding money in accounts, making plans with a German lover, and also wants to have a child? What kind of love? What are you talking about? Lena fell to her knees in front of me, grabbed my hands, begged me to forgive, to give me a chance to fix everything. She promised to drop everything immediately, delete profiles, break up with Carl, return the money, be an exemplary wife, give birth to children, and never cheat again. Just don't go. Don't destroy our family. That I freed my hands and stood up. He said that the family had already been destroyed a long time ago. You destroyed it yourself when you decided to follow this path. And I just found out the truth and made a decision. That I took out the last document from the folder, a statement of claim for divorce. He laid it on the floor in front of her. Lena grabbed the paper, read the first lines, and looked at me in horror. She screamed that she would not give a divorce. She would fight. She would prove that I was wrong, that it was my fault. I paid little attention to her, was at work all the time. She felt lonely. That's why all this happened. That I calmly replied that the documents had already been submitted to the court. The process had begun. She can agree or resist, but the result will be the same. We are getting a divorce, and the property is already protected. The apartment has been re-registered in my mother's name. The money has been transferred to a separate account. The car has been sold. She will only get what is required by law, the minimum. Lena jumped up, her face twisted with anger, and shouted, "You will regret it. I'll tell everyone what a bastard you are. I'll go to your work, tell my bosses, my colleagues. I'll ruin your reputation and career. I'll make you out to be an abuser, a tyrant who drove his wife to despair." I nodded. I expected this. So I'm ready. He took out his phone and showed her a folder with evidence, videos, photographs, correspondence. He said that if she tries to denigrate me, I will provide it all where necessary. To the company, her relatives, mutual friends. Let everyone know who she really is. Lena froze, realizing that she was driven into a corner. She asked quietly, "Are you really going to do this? Will you embarrass me in front of everyone?" I replied, "I don't want to, but if you have to, yes, let the world know the truth. Enough lies and pretense." She slowly sank down onto the sofa, covered her face with her hands, and cried quietly, hopelessly. That I looked at her and did not feel pity, only emptiness and fatigue. 10 years of life lived with a stranger, 10 years of deception, behind which I did not see the truth. I took my jacket and said that I was going to my mother for a couple of days. Let her think, collect her thoughts. But the decision is final. Divorce is inevitable. We can do this in a civilized manner or through a scandal. Her choice. That I'm waiting for an answer tomorrow. That I left the apartment and heard her scream behind me, "You'll regret it. I won't let you just leave." I didn't turn around, closed the door, and went to the elevator. My hands were shaking a little. Emotions were raging inside, but my face remained calm. That I did what I planned. Now, the consequences. That I came to my mother. She greeted me with tea and sandwiches and asked how it went. He told me briefly. He laid out everything, showed the evidence, and handed over the claim. She denied, then confessed, then threatened. A standard textbook reaction. Mom sighed and said she felt sorry for me. But it's good that I found out the truth now, and not many years later. That you're still young. You have life ahead of you. You'll find a normal woman. I nodded. Although right now the last thing I was thinking about was a new relationship. I just wanted to close this chapter and move on. I didn't sleep that night. Lay on the sofa in my mother's apartment and replayed the conversation with Lena in my head. Her tears, pleas, threats. That I wonder how serious she is. Will he really go to work and start throwing mud at him? Or will she come to her senses and realize that she is lost? In the morning, Victor called. and said that Lena called him at night, tried to negotiate, offered money so that he would refuse to handle my case, that he refused, and explained that it was illegal and unethical. Lena yelled at him and hung up. This means she doesn't give up. She fights to the end. Okay, let's see who wins, that I have all the cards in my hands. The law is on my side. She only has threats and hysterics, a game with unequal chances. On Wednesday morning, Igor Sergeyevich called me to his office. His face was gloomy, and he didn't even offer to sit down. He said that my wife came to him with serious accusations, that I was supposedly an abuser, that I humiliated her morally, controlled her every step, limited her money, that she lived in constant fear and stress because of me. I stood and listened. Everything was boiling inside. Lena really went for it. She came to my company and started throwing mud at me. Igor Sergeyevich continued. She demands that management influence me, force me to apologize and stop abusive behavior. Otherwise, he promises to contact the trade union and women's rights organizations. I asked the boss, does he believe in this? Igor Sergeyevich shrugged his shoulders and said that he did not know who to believe. That on the one hand, I have been working in the company for 3 years and have proven myself well. On the other hand, the wife came with bruises under her eyes, all in tears, and spoke very convincingly. She looked real. I grinned. Bruises under the eyes, cosmetics, or lack of sleep from worries. Lena is a master of manipulation. Her acting skills are excellent. For 2 years, she led me by the nose, played the role of a loving wife. But I didn't notice. Why is it worth putting on a performance in front of your superiors? He took out his phone and opened the folder with evidence. I showed Igor Sergeyevich several screenshots. Lena's profile on the escort website, photos with clients, account statements. I briefly explained the situation. My wife has been engaged in prostitution for 2 years. I found out by chance. And now I'm getting a divorce, but she's trying to smear me to gain an advantage in court. The boss looked at the phone screen. His face gradually changed. First surprise, then shock, then disgust. He said that these are serious accusations. I better transfer everything to the HR department officially. They will sort it out and conduct an internal investigation. I agreed and went to the personnel department. Marina Petrovna, the head of personnel, was sitting there. A woman of about 50, strict but fair. She listened to my story carefully and looked at the documents. She asked if I had the originals. I confirmed that the lawyer has everything. Marina Petrovna called Lena and asked her to come to clarify the circumstances. Lena arrived an hour later. Her eyes were red. She looked suffering. She sat opposite me in the meeting room and looked at me with hatred. The trial began. The personnel officer asked Lena if there was evidence of abusive behavior, medical certificates, witnesses, recordings of conversations. Lena was confused. She said that it was all psychological pressure. There are no physical traces. There are no witnesses either. Everything happened at home, in private. Marina Petrovna nodded, then asked directly, is it true that Lena is engaged in providing intimate services for money? Lena turned pale and began to deny. This is slander. Maxim made up everything to discredit me in the divorce proceedings. He doesn't have any evidence. I took out printouts and laid them out on the table. Profile from the website, customer reviews, correspondence with the manager, bank statements with transfers. Lena looked at the documents. Her face stopped and turned gray. I tried to explain that this was a montage, a fake, that someone had set me up, but my voice was shaking. My words were jumbled. Marina Petrovna studied the papers and asked several clarifying questions. Lena answered less and less confidently, confused in her testimony. At some point she broke down, cried, screamed. Yes, it's true, but I was forced. He brought me to this with his indifference and neglect. The personnel officer stopped her. Calm down. The personal life of employees does not concern the company, but an attempt to slander a colleague and manipulate management is already a violation of ethics. The company will not interfere in the marriage and divorce proceedings. Let the court sort it out. Lena was asked to leave the building and not appear again. Lena jumped up, threw a chair, yelled at Marina Petrovna that everyone had been bought. Everyone was on Maxim's side, that she would find justice elsewhere. She ran out of the meeting room, slamming the door that I sat quietly, looking after her. Hysteria will do nothing. It will only make it worse. Marina Petrovna sighed and said that the situation was unpleasant, but understandable. She advised me to hold on and not give in to provocations. Difficulties may arise at work. Rumors have already started. After the YFest visit, colleagues will whisper. I nodded, realizing that my reputation was tarnished, and so it happened. In the corridors they looked at me askance, whispered behind my back. Andre was silent, clearly happy about my problems. Some colleagues patted me on the shoulder sympathetically and said, "Hold on." Most stayed away and did not want to get involved. Victor called on Thursday and said that the court hearing was scheduled for next week. Lena does not formally object to the divorce, but demands division of property and compensation for moral damage. Requires half the cost of the apartment, car, and part of the savings, plus 300,000 rubles for moral damage. I asked what the chances were. Victor replied that it was minimal on her part. The apartment was re-registered before the claim was filed. Formally, it is no longer mine. The car was sold. The money was also withdrawn. It is difficult to prove that this was done specifically before the divorce. The deadlines were not violated. And moral damage is generally funny. She should compensate me for this. The court hearing passed quickly. Lena came with a lawyer, some young girl who clearly took the case for experience. The lawyer created a pitiful image. A poor abandoned woman. Her husband kicked her out onto the street and took all her property. The judge listened skeptically. Victor provided our evidence. Lena's hidden income, an account in Dubai, a profile on an escort website. The judge studied the documents, frowned, and asked Lena where such amounts were in the accounts if she did not officially work. Lena mumbled that she was saving. Her parents gave her gifts. The judge didn't believe it. It was obvious. She made a decision to dissolve the marriage, not to divide the property. Since the apartment was registered in the name of a third party, the car was sold, and there was no joint household property left. Lena gets her personal belongings, and that SIT to no compensation. The process took 40 minutes that we left the courtroom. Lena stood in the corridor with red eyes, looking at me with hatred and pain at the same time. I walked past without saying a word. There was nothing more for us to talk about. Officially, we are no longer husband and wife. Oleg called a couple of days later with the news. Carl found out about the divorce. Lena told it herself, apparently hoping for support. The German reacted unexpectedly. He asked why she didn't say that she was married. Lena explained that the marriage was a formality and that she and her husband had not loved each other for a long time. Carl didn't believe it and began to dig deeper. I found out that Lena hid the fact of marriage from him for 2 years and lied about her life, that I felt deceived, that I wrote to her that I was disappointed, that I didn't want to be with a woman who lies so easily. Canceled the December meeting in Dubai and deleted her from my contacts. Lena tried to get him back. She called, wrote, and apologized. Carl didn't answer. His wife found out about the affair with Lena, created a scandal, and demanded an explanation. Carl decided to save his family and broke all ties with Lena. Her rich lover disappeared in one day. I listened to this story and felt a strange satisfaction. Lena lost everything. Husband, lover, stability, reputation. I was left alone with money in my accounts, but without a future. Fair? Don't know. But I felt that the circle was closed. At work, relationships with colleagues completely deteriorated. Everyone knew about the divorce and the reasons. Some condemned me. They say that a man should forgive his wife, and getting a divorce because of infidelity is childish. Others condemned Lena, a prostitute, a shame. The third didn't care, but the atmosphere became toxic. Andre continued to take my place. leading projects that were previously mine. Igor Sergeyevich spoke to me coldly. Officially that I realized that there was nothing more for me to do here. The career is killed. The atmosphere is poisoned. You need to change the place. That I started looking for a new job and send out my resume to several companies. There were many responses, good experience, skills in demand. That I chose an offer from another city, a small company, but interesting projects. That I agreed to move in a month. That I wrote a letter of resignation of my own free will. Igor Sergeyevich accepted without regret and formally wished me luck. Colleagues saw us off indifferently. Only a couple of people shook hands sincerely. Andre chuckled and said that he would finally take my chair officially. I wished him good luck and left the office for the last time. 6 months had passed since the divorce. That I moved to another city, rented an apartment, and got a new job. The team is pleasant, the projects are interesting, the management is adequate. Nobody knew my story, no one asked unnecessary questions. Clean slate. New life. Mom called regularly, asking how things were going. She was worried that I was alone and advised me to meet someone. That I replied that I was in no hurry. It would take time for the wounds to heal. That I, in fact, he avoided women. He didn't want the situation to repeat itself. Trust was undermined for a long time. In March, I signed up to volunteer at a local animal shelter. I decided that I needed to occupy my free time with something, and at the same time, do something useful. He came on weekends, walked the dogs, helped with cleaning, and brought food. It calmed me down and distracted me from my thoughts. There I met Daria. She also volunteered, a young woman of about 30, a veterinarian by training. She worked in a clinic and in her free time helped the shelter. Cheerful, open, loved animals more than people. She said so herself, laughing. We first started communicating on business. She advised on dog health, I helped with administrative issues. Then the conversations became more personal. It turned out that she, too, was after a divorce. Her ex-husband left for someone else. There were no children, but we found a common language quickly. Daria didn't ask for details about my divorce. I didn't meddle in her personal life. We just spent time together, walked the dogs, drank coffee after volunteering, sometimes went to the movies. Nothing serious, just pleasant communication. But gradually I felt that I liked her. We started dating officially in May. Daria suggested it herself. She said that she wanted to try it, see what happens. I agreed cautiously, warned that I have a complex history and was not ready for quick steps. She nodded and said that she had too. So there was no rush. The relationship was easy and honest. We were both burned by the past, so we tried not to repeat the same mistakes. They talked openly about feelings, did not hide doubts, did not put pressure on each other. For the first time in my life, I felt that I could be myself, without masks and games. Lena sometimes reminded me of herself. She tried to contact me through mutual friends, asked me to convey that she wanted to talk, apologize, explained that I refused every time, that I saw no point in dredging up the past. The wounds had not yet healed completely. And what can she say? Excuses won't change what happened. Oleg wrote in June and said that Lena had left the country. Apparently, she returned to escorting. She is now working in Dubai. The profile on the site is active again. The prices have been raised. There are enough clients. Without a husband and lover, I decided to completely immerse myself in this business. Her choice, her life. I read the message and felt empty. They lived together for 10 years, and she returned to where she started. It was as if our marriage was just a break from her real life. It's a strange feeling. It doesn't seem to hurt anymore. But a residue remains. In July, I accidentally saw Lena in a shopping center. I came to my hometown for work and went into the store. She stood at the display window alone, looking at the decorations. She has lost weight, has become haggard, and there is emptiness in her eyes. Expensive clothes, impeccable makeup, but a lost look. Our gazes met. She froze, recognized me. I nodded politely and turned away and moved on. There was no anger, resentment, or interest, just strange indifference. This person was a part of my life once, but now he is a complete stranger. Did I realize at that moment that I had completely let go of the past? Lena, no longer causes pain, does not evoke emotions, just an ex-wife, a mistake of youth, a closed chapter. That I move on, build a new life, and there is no room for it. Returned home in the evening. Daria prepared dinner. We sat in the kitchen, talking about plans for the weekend. She suggested going to nature, taking a tent, a fire, and romance. That I agreed with a smile. Life got better slowly but surely. After dinner, Daria picked up the phone, frowned, and said that a strange message had arrived from an unknown number. She showed me the screen. That I read the text and froze. Your husband was married to my ex-girlfriend. That we need to talk. I looked at Daria. She looked at me questioningly. She asked what it meant and who could have written it. That I shook my head. I had no idea. That ex-girlfriend, Lena? But who is this man? Carl, or one of her clients? Daria asked if it was worth answering. That I thought about it. On the one hand, it's interesting to know who writes and why. On the other hand, I don't want to get back into the mud from which I just crawled out. But Daria deserves to know the truth if it concerns us. We decided to answer. Daria typed, "Who are you and what do you want?" Send a message. We sat in silence, looked at the screen, and waited for an answer. The phone vibrated a minute later. A new message. Meet me tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in a cafe on the Central Square. Both come. It's important. I exchanged glances with Daria. She shrugged her shoulders and said that we can go and see what kind of person he is. If something strange happens, we'll just leave. I nodded and agreed, although there was anxiety inside. The next day we arrived at the cafe 10 minutes early. We sat at a table by the window, ordered coffee, and waited to tea. Exactly 2 o'clock. A man of about 40 approached us, tall, in a business suit. He said hello, introduced himself as Carl, and sat down opposite. I recognized him from photographs from Oleg's report. Lena's German lover, who left her after learning about the deception. What does he need from us? Why is he here? Carl looked at us carefully, sighed heavily, said that he understood that the situation was strange, but he needed to meet and say something. This concerns Lena and what happened. Daria tensed and asked, "What exactly?" Carl was silent for a moment, then spoke. He said that after breaking up with Lena, he began to dig deeper. He wanted to understand who she really was. He hired a detective, collected information, and found out things that shocked even him. Lena, it turns out, worked not just as an escort. She was involved in a money laundering scheme through a call girl network. Marina, the manager, organized it all. Clients from the criminal world paid large sums not for services, but for cashing out dirty money. The girls received a percentage, the rest went further down the chain, and I listened, and it grew cold inside. This means that Lena was not just a prostitute, but part of a criminal structure. Carl nodded and said that there was evidence. The detective found connections between Marina and several crime bosses. Lena knew about this, or not, is unclear, but she definitely participated. I asked why he was telling us this. Carl replied that he wanted to warn. These people don't like it when people dig into their affairs. I divorced Lena and made a fuss, filed documents in court, perhaps attracting unwanted attention. If they decide that I know too much, they may try to shut my mouth. Daria turned pale and grabbed my hand. I asked what to do. Carl advised us to be careful and not to delve deeper into this story. He himself left Russia. Now in Germany. I contacted you only because I felt it necessary to warn you. They won't meet again. He got up, left a business card on the table, and said that if something happens, you can write. He has contacts of people who will help. They said goodbye, and he left. We were left sitting in shock, digesting the information. I took the business card and put it in my pocket. I looked at Daria. Her face was pale with fear, said everything would be fine. We'd just be careful. She nodded, but there was anxiety in her eyes. We left the cafe and walked down the street in silence. I thought that the past had caught up with me again, that I thought I had closed this chapter and started a new life. It turns out that the story with Lena is not over yet. and now not only I, but also Daria are under threat. Life took another turn. What will happen next is unknown, but I knew one thing for sure. I found a video of my wife cheating on the internet, and this discovery changed everything forever.